what we start the day with, well, I've got two guests in here. Two guests, and we are looking at what's going on with a department that is not often, I believe, as credited as they should be. I am talking about the Consumer Protection Division inside the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Usually you run into a situation and you see something happening, it bothers you, you get a bad purchase, you get into higher purchase, you get into even buying toys for the kids. You don't know what to do, what to look for. You go to buy something, workmanship is an issue, you don't look at it. There is the question of bait and switch. There is the question of credit card fraud. But who is on my side is always the question. I've got two guests in here this morning who will hopefully answer those questions and a couple more. Let me, without further ado this morning, as I welcome you inside Brunch, say good morning to Inrish Rattan and Miss Nicole Robinson. Let's ladies first. Inrish, I'm sure you'll be fine with that. Nicole, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Bishop. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. And good morning to you, Inrish. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Bishop, and good morning to the listening public.
That is good to hear. I'm going to start. It's good to hear that you folks are fine. How is that for an assumption? I gather that we are fine. Let us go into the area of consumer protection. Explain the power of the Consumer Protection Division, and more specifically, the enforcement and punitive action ability of this agency. Who takes that first? Ladies first, we go again. All right. So, Nicole, and I want to lay this down so folks understand, first of all, what the division is about, even though it sounds self-explanatory. But then after you say, this is what we do, tell me about the power of that agency to impose punitive actions if necessary.
Okay, good morning, listeners. The Consumer Affairs Division falls under the Ministry of Trade and Industry. The division is responsible for protecting consumers from unfair business practices. Our responsibility is to receive and investigate consumer complaints, conduct consumer education programs, monitor business practices within Trinidad and Tobago. Right. As the recognized body for consumer complaints, we would practice. Well, we have consumers coming in. Consumers have problems with a purchase of a good or service. We are the recognized body you're coming to get redress. So basically, you come in, you lodge the complaint. We would liaise with both consumer and supplier to get redress for the consumer.
Yes, folks have to come into you, or they call you with their complaint?
You must come in to lodge the complaint at the moment. Sometimes we take complaints via email. You can send it over Facebook. So we have various avenues within which you can lodge the complaints. So you come in, you lodge your complaint, you call us if you're not certain if your complaint is something that we can address, or we can refer you to the relevant government agency.
That's good. It is. I go and I purchase something, and I believe I'm the claimant. I believe I have an issue, and the seller in this case says, "Listen, I sold him a perfectly good iron. What is he talking about?" So we have disagreement. What happens there?
Yes.
What happens there?
Okay, well, we have to get both sides of the parties, explain what transpired, both the consumer statement. We will contact the supplier to find out exactly what transpired. If the problem with the item is due to consumer misuse, then, of course, we can't force the supplier to issue redress. But if it's clearly a manufacturer's defect with the product, the supplier is obligated to issue a full cash refund.
But we had loggerheads here, because I'm saying the iron stopped working. You're saying it's the way I use it. I'm saying I used it properly. You're saying no. It's the supplier is saying no, it's good. I mean, what happens there?
Well, we have to ask the consumer, did you use the product according to the manual's instructions?
The answer is yes, of course. What do you
Yes,
expect?
you did.
Yes,
All
of course I
right.
did.
The next step is, if we are still having problems with the alleged use of the item, we can send the whatever the product is. If it's an electrical item, we can send it to the Bureau of Standards for testing to determine that it is working as the manual instructed, or they can determine whether or not it's not a fully functioning item.
Okay, wanted to straighten that out. Is there a cap on how much, a cap on the value of items that your department handles in Rush? No. Your microphone is here. There you go. There is no ceiling.
No, there is no ceiling.
All right. So small claims court. Do we have a small claims court? Do we have a court that deal with these issues, or do I have to go to the big court, as it were? Because the purpose of the discussion this morning is for folks to understand that they actually have the power in their hand through you folks. But folks hear about court and they go like, if I go to them, I go to court, and then I can't afford this and I can't do this. What is the process for a consumer with an item? Let's say you said there is no ceiling for it, but let's deal with the average. $1,500 is the cost of my item or the catalyst of my grouse. Is that too much money? And it's not too much money because there's no limit. So
so there's no.
how do I get this resolved?
Well,
I tell you decide to do what? You take it to a small claims court. Is there such a thing?
all right. Well, basically, what will happen is that we will listen to the nature of the complaint, as Nicole was explaining, and some sort of investigation, if need be, will be conducted. If at the end of the process, the supplier is still refusing to give redress, let's say that our investigation revealed that the product is defective, which entitled the consumer to a refund, and the supplier is still refusing, then we can refer the consumer. We prepare summary report for the consumer, in which they can seek either redress. First, we advocate that they check legal aid, so they can get a legal opinion with the summary report I will give to them. And if the lawyer at legal aid determines that they have a valid case to proceed further, then they can either choose to go use the petty court, or they can use the normal courts to have their matter heard.
Just that I'm clear,
Yeah,
I come into your department, as Ms. Robinson said, I come into you, I bring my information, I tell you what it is. You say, hey, it looks as though it's your problem, Mr. Consumer. I say, no, I need to take legal action because I'm insistent on where I am. You say I should go to legal aid and see if I have a case. Is that correct?
No, I
misunderstood that.
No, I'm saying that at the end of the process, if at the end of the process, the consumer is still unhappy with whatever is being offered, they can choose to go to legal aid or use the petty court if they choose to pursue the matter further.
Let's be clear on this this legal aid.
Yeah, so the cutoff point will be with us when we give them that summary report, right? But we do have an 80% success rate in terms of getting redress for consumers.
That's really good. 80% is approximately how many complaints you get per year.
Right, but Nicole was saying around
Over 2,000.
Over 2,000.
And you've got an 80% resolution rate. So tell me about that. Is that 80% comprising taking it to the court process, or merely work you guys do before you get to the court process, you get 80% resolved?
Well, remember, in terms of redress, we have it takes different forms. Like we'll have that redress will take form of either credit note, exchanges, cash refunds, other forms of that the both parties
repairs, exchanges,
yes.
partial refunds. So exchanges, there are different categories of redress that consumers receive when the advocates advocate on their behalf. I wanted to stress something with the small claims court. The Consumer Affairs Division, sending the consumer to seek legal aid is the final resort in the entire interaction between consumer, supplier, and consumer advocate. At present, the new legislation for the Consumer Affairs Division has not been passed in Parliament. The new legislation will comprise of having a tribunal operating within the Consumer Affairs Division, where the advocates would have the court system set up within the unit. Therefore, we would have more control. So now, if we are sending the consumers to seek private legal action, Consumer Affairs does not have control of the outcome. So when the new legislation is passed, the tribunal will be within the division. Therefore, we can have a greater say as to the outcome of the matter.
We are removing the bureaucracy and as such the
Having it
amount of
within
representation,
the
duplicity, that sort of thing is what we're talking
Yes.
about. In order for you to enact that move towards assisting the consumer, you must have tools. When you say come in to us, you don't say come in to us just with your word of mouth. You're saying come in to us with your receipts, etc., which means the citizenry must do their part if they are looking for redress. Explain some of the things they need to bring into you when they have a grousey complaint.
You must have your receipt. Your receipt is your proof of purchase. It's advisable as consumers. Please request a receipt. You're getting a receipt from the business, please. Ensure that it has the name of the business, proper address. It outlines your purchase, the cost, what have you. Your receipt must have the required information on it for it to be a valid receipt. If you don't have your receipt, you will have your contract from the business place. You may have the hire purchase agreement. You may have a service report. So you need to have your receipt to lodge the complaint.
But when I walked into the place, they had a sign there that said no refund, no exchange. I mean, is that legal that they have that?
It's not illegal.
So if I see that sign anywhere, I should not purchase anything. I should refuse to patronize
Choice
that.
is yours as the consumer. You can also contact the division, let the division know that you observe the sign at the outlet or on the receipt. It's a violation of the Adverse Trade Practice Order. So that is another function of the Consumer Affairs Division. We conduct exercises at various business places to ensure that they don't have these signs on display in the stores or on the receipt.
Delineate on that a little bit for me, the question of the Adverse Trade Practices Order for the benefit of small businesses that may be listening to us. Anyone wants to, let's run this across the Inrish. You want to delineate on this for me, the Adverse Trade Practices Order of 2000?
Well, before I go to the ATPO, I just want to mention about the receipt. Now, probably 2 to 3 years now, the receipts are fading pretty quickly. So we advocate that the consumer, especially for probably items that are of substantial cost, that probably they should photocopy it. You know, have some form of documenting probably take a photo of it or something like that, because it fades.
Quick, stupid question.
Yes.
If you find that they're using inferior ink and it's fading fast, why don't you demand that that the issuing the source be the ones the owners be put on?
Right. We did some. I did make a couple of calls, and apparently that's the ink that is being used throughout Trinidad and Tobago, and I don't know how far, Nicole, that we can go in terms of the ink, but this is a measure that we ask them, the consumers,
to safeguard themselves. You, the consumer, it's your responsibility to safeguard yourself. So please make photocopies of your receipt.
Can I ask my bank to let me use that ink on my check? That way, after a while, I go like I never wrote it.
But I doubt they will allow that.
All right, so you're asking consumers, Inrish, to go ahead and photocopy this. Please continue.
Yeah, so I'll just go now back to the ATPO, the Adverse Trade Practice Order 2000. It specifically has blacklisted certain terms, especially the phrase "no exchange, no refunds." It's illegal. It cannot be displayed in receipts or in any signage at the store. It also addresses VAT, that when you advertise in a price at the store, the VAT must be of the same font as the price. You know, sometimes you put the big letters, the price, and then you put the VAT, and it must be of the same font.
It's called redefined print, but in this case,
yes, it is. And so, but basically, that's the ATPO. It also addresses the there's one other issue on the ATPO.
this is the actual order, yes.
Yes. So, right. So it also would look at the right. So introduces the right. So here, this is what I'm going to mention here, that you cannot introduce a new term into a contract. So once that contract is signed, the supplier at no point afterwards can introduce a new term.
Okay.
You know, so
And making sure that our listeners and who we all consumers understand this. You go in, for instance, and I buy me a blender. Should I insist? I know it's going to be a little more time consuming for the issuing party, which is the seller. Should I insist that serial number and that sort of thing be put on my receipt? I mean, can I legally insist that be put there?
You can,
Yes.
to clarify that the product in the package is the same as the package states, because sometimes you have complaints. You purchase an item, the package may have one serial number. When you take the product out, the product has a different serial number. And when you have a complaint now, the supplier, you know, they are querying this thing, but it's advisable you're purchasing these small appliances. Also, you check it, let them take it out of the package. You inspect to make sure that it's not broken. You let them test it to ensure that it's working before you leave the store.
How soon after you purchase something does the warranty come into effect?
Suppliers have different warranty time frames. Some of them, they may give you 7 days.
7 days is the lifetime, but I mean, how immediate does the warranty come into effect? As soon as I purchase?
As soon as you purchase the item.
see,
As soon as you exchange money with the supplier, you get your receipt, your warranty begins its life at that time.
You know, I say that with a little reluctance because after learning that once you purchase a car, as you drive out the place, a quarter of the value is gone already. You go like, okay. I just want to be clear on that. You made a mention a moment ago about hire purchase. That is something that I want you to spend some time with either of you, because the question of hire purchase, folks believe that it is a quick way. It's a sort of layaway. I think it's the same. Is that a good analogy? It's like a layaway, but there is normally a balloon payment. You pay like sometimes 50% more, or some cases 100% more in higher purchase. Advise listeners this morning, by the way, the voices you're hearing this morning, respectively, female is Nicole Robinson, male is Inrish Rattan, and they are both from the Ministry of Trade and Industry, the Consumer Protection Division. So this question of higher purchase, somebody detailed that so folks understand it is not only a way of getting your stuff, but you are going to pay for it in some cases twice as much.
Go ahead, Inrish.
Okay. All right. So, well, the hire purchase, we know that things are pretty tight in the country now. So, and the longer you take to pay back for an item, the 3-year, as Mr. Bishop alluded to, that a 3-year plan, you will always pay like probably twice the amount, the value of the product. So it costs $5,000, maybe you're going to pay $10,000 for that 3-year period. So if you should go into it, you should consider probably going for the shorter term plan. Like some of them have the 3, some have 6 months. If you do have to go into such an agreement, it might be wise to take the shorter term where you pay less interest. You know.
There is a fear by a lot of people that if you take the shorter term, what happens is that the same finance charge is bundled in that shorter term, so you're actually still paying for
the same amount.
Is that so? And if you see that, is that an unfair practice? Just asking a question, or if you knowingly go into it, it is not unfair.
It's not unfair because, as I'm about to say, very important, consumers, please read the contracts before you sign. Please ask questions about the terms that you are agreeing to. Because, as you rightly said, when you take the shorter term, the charges are bundled. So it may appear to be less, but if you work it out, you're paying the same amount for the item than if you take it for a 3-year period. Because you must realize that it's the facility of the establishment you're using. It's a credit facility. It's profitable only when interest is charged. So very important, consumers' hire purchase agreements, you need to be aware of the terms and conditions before you sign. Also, many consumers are of the opinion that when you have the item is wholly and solely yours. It is not so until you pay off for the product. If you stop your payments before like 70%, some persons of the opinion you can stop paying after 70% of the installments have been paid.
They still own it.
They do it, but the supplier can come and repossess the item.
That's right.
So the item is only fully yours when you have completed all the payments.
And you guys keep that in mind, all right? The nice car and the big property and stuff, you say it's yours. It's not yours until you finish pay for it.
Exactly.
It's 20 minutes, I digress. 20 minutes after 10 o'clock. A pleasant good morning to you. You're listening to Brunch from 107.7. My name is Rennie Bishop. Glad to have you here. We're talking about consumer protection. These are the issues we are before us. One of the primary areas we talked about that you must have is a receipt, because that is your proof of purchase, and that's your access, your pass card to any sort of redress for what you have purchased. However, sometimes you go into a place and they're using one of the cookie cutter, one of the template receipt books. And doesn't have the name of the company, and if the clerk is anything like mine, they can do their best writing and nobody understands it, not even me. However, so if you have a clerk that's writing something that's not very clear, if your receipt is not very clear and the name of the company is not there, all these things you have the right to insist that you get. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Yes. All right. We've done that, and we're into Christmas shopping. I'm sorry. You had a point to make, Jitan.
Yes, as we were on the hire purchase issue, I just wanted to mention to the general public that the Super Shield, or whatever extended warranty, I should say, that is offered by these establishments, it's not compulsory. So sometimes it's up to you, to either accept the extended warranty or not. So sometimes a lot of consumers think they just fill it into the bill, and it's added cost to them.
And you don't really have to do that, because unknown to a lot of people is that the manufacturer themselves have a warranty on the product.
Exactly.
Yes.
And as Inrish said that, I wanted to point out, consumers at this time, please be aware, check your receipt before you leave. Because one of these establishments, recently I had an issue, they added the Super Shield payment to my receipt without asking me if I was interested in it. So as I'm about to walk away from the cashier, I just browsed the receipt and I saw the extra payments and I had to ask them to remove it. So consumers, please ensure that what is on your receipt is the cost of the item plus VAT, nothing else.
And that's it. Yes, I'm sorry.
Just one more thing, because the CSR, they paid a commission on the extended warranty. And just one last point, this is that in terms of some of these establishments are also offering loans. Now, what happened to one consumer, they took the loan, $20-something thousand, and they did not know that whatever they took and they had acquired from that establishment were used as security. So all this stuff was repossessed when they did not, when they weren't able to make the payments.
Make your payment if you have, yes, usually if they do, if you have something as a guarantor, hence the reason I don't keep friends. Anyway, if you've got a guarantor, know that they will be calling on the guarantor. If it's your property, in this case, that is what they'll be coming after. And they can't take their property with them. Oh, okay. All right. Christmas season, and we don't need to talk about the things people are buying. But when you talk about Consumer Protection Division, it is one thing for you to take the action after, as you said, a lot of the onus is on the consumer. Now, the folks will say, well, there must be some standards. I'm particularly concerned about Christmas lights, of an inferior quality from an inferior source, and the insulation does not stand up to the constant use. The next thing we do, we've got a fire in our hands. How would you advise folks in getting their Christmas decorations and stuff like that? I mean, what standard is there that a consumer can look for before they purchase something? In the case of lights,
do research online. It's always wise you shop around. For instance, TNTech has advertisements running about safety with the Christmas lights. The lights must have the UL label at the base of the socket. Those are the recommended Christmas lights consumers should use. Those are the recommended ones. You check your old lights, make sure there are no dim bulbs or bulbs that are not working. Remove them before you plug them in. But the indicator of the quality of the Christmas lights is the UL label. You will see it out on the box.
That's Underwriters Laboratories,
yes.
right?
So a little silver label. It can't be removed. So those are the recommended Christmas lights, or even extension cords. Some of the extension cords you're purchasing, they are not sturdy, they're not suitable for overload, and we're having problems with persons overloading the extension cords, and these leads to fires and other hazards within the home.
And so this UL label, the Underwriters Laboratory, that is also on extensions. You should not buy an electrical extension unless you see the UL on it.
You see these types of labels because at least it certifies that it is safe to use and it would not overload and cause problems within your home.
Because at the end of the day, you can have a Gucci bag and you can pay $20 for it. It just means it will be destroyed after about a week. Ask any lady about that. And the same thing applies in the case of electrical fittings. And that's particularly important around this Christmas time because of fires.
And also it's very important to know the difference between outdoor and indoor lights. Because some persons, they purchase the same thing and use it outside. When it gets wet, you have problems. So important as a consumer, please read your labels before you are purchasing these items.
Inrish, I want to come to you with this question because a lot of folks are buying, because you say they're kids, so you buy age-appropriate toys. For many people simply mean that you're ensuring that the level of maturity of the game or the toy itself is understood. But there is a bigger reason why one should look at age-appropriate toys, is there not?
Yeah, well, the on the package will indicate the age, that's appropriateness of the toy. So it selects between toys suitable for children, ages between X and Y. So it's appropriate. It's a responsibility of the parent or guardian if they're purchasing an item or toy, to read the packaging properly.
I'm cognizant of that. I just mean in the sense that you can buy the wrong toy for the wrong child, endangering that child.
Exactly.
Am I correct on that?
Yes, you look for age-appropriate toys for the children, right? So the small parts and all these other things, parts that can be broken easily, are not for toddlers, not for children under 3 years old. So the purchaser must be cognizant of the safety of the product before purchasing it for the child. So again, packages are important because many of the toys now, they have the age specification suitable for between 2 to 5 years old. So you look for these before you purchase the product.
We are getting into just about 15 minutes. I'll be doing a little kind of rapid fire as best as I can. We have standing by the Secretary General of the Communication Workers Union, Joseph Rennie, to talk about the Mattel situation. Gonna get there, but I want to continue with this. It's a very dangerous time we live in. And while you offering through your department the redress, I know you give guidance, you give direction to people. Guns. Kids, boys particularly, they must have a gun at Christmas time. These are very dangerous times to have a gun. What advice do you have for parents who are purchasing guns?
The toy guns.
Yes, the toy guns, yes.
They should be colorful. Try not to, not the color of an actual gun, so someone would not mistake it for an actual gun. The barrel should be colored. So from a distance, you can see it's a toy and it's not the real product.
Because that is...
And you try to avoid purchasing the guns for the children because there are other educational toys that can be used for boys of that age that it would be wiser for you to purchase for them.
Because that is something that bothers me. Kids, and the younger we see them committing crime, we understand the greater danger they are put at risk.
Exactly. So you try to purchase other toys that would be educational and help with their development.
I noticed also in looking through the information that was sent me, thank you guys for it so much. I learned something I didn't know. And I see Mr. Rattan smiling. He probably knows where I'm coming with this, being the victim myself. You have to know at the end of the day is the right time to purchase a shoe. I didn't know that. I thought, I need a pair of shoes. I just go get a pair of shoes. But I'm looking at your information. It says, hey, no, you've got to wait till the end of the day to do it. Why is that? My foot is swollen? Or is that what it is?
At the end of the day, after all the the excess pressure walking up and down. So at the end of the day, your feet tend to be swollen. So it's advisable that you purchase it at the end of the day so the shoe will accommodate the excess stretch that that the foot would have during the course of the day. Because sometimes you purchase it first thing in the morning, you would notice if you observe your body. At different points of the day, you will see the difference in the feet. You find at the end of the day, your shoes are tighter on your feet. So it's advisable that you purchase it at the end of the day to ensure that it's comfortable and it actually fits you.
Totally embarrassed I am. I read it and I go, oh, that's why it was good at the store.
Yes, and so when
and what is this thing about 1 foot bigger than the other one?
most persons, you do become aware of it as time goes by, that one side of the shoe fits tighter than the other. So we advise persons, please try on both sides of the shoes at the store, walk around with the shoes in the store to ensure that it is comfortable, it's not slipping off of your feet, not squeezing the toes. All these things are very important to note when purchasing shoes.
It is true that I should do my due diligence, but let us just say that I didn't. I'm going to take a couple of calls. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, we will do that in a moment. Caller, just hold on for a second. It is important that I do my due diligence, but in the case that I don't do my due diligence and I get a defective workmanship on something, can I come to you guys with that? If I just the receipt, everything is fine. I mean,
problems with the
but
shoe,
I
the item. Yes, you can
and
come
I can come to you with that.
You can come in with whatever problems you experience with the item within a reasonable time frame after purchase. You can come in to us, you bring the item in to us, we can look at it, and then, we can address your complaint, liaise with the supplier to have the matter resolved on your behalf.
With respect to the VAT issue, you can call the VAT office and you can make a report there. In terms of the UL, with electrical items, it's always need to you check that item at the store, make sure, not just plug it in, ask them to run it for, I think, probably 4 minutes or so.
And you can do that. They cannot refuse to do that.
No,
they can't refuse.
So, because if you just plug it in, that might not be sufficient time to determine the functionality of the item. So please ask them to give it a extended run so you can know that it's working fine. Because you see, when you leave the store with it, they will say, okay, it was tested and it's working, especially with electrical stuff. And they can always say that you probably went it at home or misused it. So please, we advocate that you make sure that it's tested properly before you purchase.
Trade and Industry is the Ministry Consumer Protection Division, the folks we're talking to. Just before we go to our calls and callers, I see you there. I'm coming there right now. A URL where folks can go up to your website and find the information and or a telephone number, please.
Facebook. We're on Facebook. You can visit us on Facebook, like us on Facebook. The toll-free number 800-4277.
Oh, that's really fast. The number is
800-4277.
4277. 800-4277.
The other consumer who called just now, I just wanted to remind him, as I said earlier, your receipt must be detailed. Please check your receipt before you leave the store. The receipt must have the name of the supplier, the address, contact number. Sometimes, as you said, persons use ordinary receipt books you purchase from the stationery store. Those are not valid receipts because if he has a complaint, who is he going to address when he goes back to the business place?
I am going to tell them I don't want this receipt unless you write in there your company. But if they wrote in the company, is
it's
that good
fine
enough?
and it's legible. Fine. And also, if they have the address, contact number. Some persons have a stamp. If you can stamp the receipt,
That's
is good
fine.
also.
Inrish, the top 3 things you want to advise consumers this morning as you go.
All right. Well, first, you have a budget for the Christmas. Please do stick within your budget. If you're purchasing cell phone, make sure you get sufficient warranty. Don't buy a phone for thousands of dollars and you take a 7-day warranty, 1-month warranty. Clearly, that's unacceptable. So please make sure that you get a warranty that is probably 6 months and more, where you can evaluate the functionality of the item. And thirdly, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and safe shopping. Be safe. That's my third point. Be safe.
Thank you so much. I want to take it across to Nicole Robinson now because, Nicole, folks need a 1, 2, 3 checklist. We tried to identify some, we heard some, but an informed consumer is going to be the best client you are going to have in your division. Anything outside of what we have articulated, you can add, or anything you would like to reiterate.
To add, research. Very important as a consumer. You must shop around before purchasing. In this season, we're having a lot of last-minute shoppers. Please research your items before purchasing. Ask questions before the purchase. Make sure you get your receipt. Make sure you keep the original packaging for a specific amount of time because after the Christmas season, to get it exchanged. Please ensure that the manuals you receive in your products are in English. We are an English-speaking country. Your manuals are not supposed to be in a foreign language. Please read terms and conditions before you sign contracts.
Stay with that for a moment for me because I like that. I remember someone got me a watch, and it was high tech, and I decided to read the manual, and
No, you couldn't.
no, I mean it was every other language except English.
Exactly.
So in a case like that, I go back to the manufacturer. First of all, I don't take it if I have the option to do that, but in case it was given to me as a gift, I take it back to the manufacturer and go like,
I need to get an English manual. And if they're unwilling to do so, you come into Consumer Affairs. We can contact them. The consumer must be provided with an English manual because, as I said, we're an English-speaking country.
good enough.
Please, as you stated earlier on, you may have a friend or family member who can do repairs better than you think the supplier. Please don't encourage that. It voids your warranty. Use your product according as the manual states to get the best life and length out of the product. Use it as intended. Make sure you have a shopping list, people, when we're going out there to shop. Be safe when you're shopping. Don't put your packages on your car seat. Store them in the trunk. Don't walk with excess amounts of cash. Please observe the signs in the stores before purchasing. If you're uncertain, ask a question from the sales clerk. If you're still uncertain, please go elsewhere and you would get more information.
Quick question though, I'm out of time, but I must ask you this. I look in the newspaper or television or online and I see something advertised for $10. I get into the store and it's $12 and $15.
No, it's advisable at this time especially. Please walk with the advertisement. This is what you advertise. This is what it should
And if
be
he
sold
refuses to do that?
If he refuses, you let him know. I'm going to advise Consumer Affairs because it's false advertising.
But I'm trying to get this in time for Christmas.
The onus is on you, the consumer. You saw it advertised for X price. When you're going to the store, if it's the next day, there's no reason for price exchange. It's not a newer product. Please ensure that the advertised price is the price that is sold to you.
Just to be very clear, so if you're advertising a special price for something, it should say valid until so-and-so date.
Exactly.
And if you don't have a valid until so-and-so date in the ad, it means forever I can come and expect this price.
Within a reasonable time frame. So it's advisable. You have the advertisement.
You don't put a date.
Walk with the advertisement.
Nicole, I'm a troublemaker. Nicole Robinson and Inrish Rattan, both from the Consumer Protection Division of the Ministry of Industry and Trade. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this morning. The website, again, you can get to Facebook and get information from you. And the telephone number, I will do it this time, Nicole, 800 4277. 800 4277. Thank you both for coming in.
You're
You have a
welcome.
wonderful day and
Same
have
to
yourself a
you.
great Christmas. And I will continue to be in touch with you folks because I got a morning program that I'm going to have to get you in there for every now and again. Okay?
Okay, no problem.
Have
Thanks
yourself a
lot.
wonderful day.
Same to you. Thank
And
you.
Akila, by the way, Akila, thank you very much. You all have a good day now.